Inside the body of an oyster, a pearl does not remain still. It silently rotates for months, sometimes even years, while thousands of nacre layers, each thinner than a human hair, gradually build up across its surface. Even the slightest irregularity during this process can turn a pearl worth thousands of dollars into a misshapen object with almost no commercial value. To create that perfection, farmers must carefully select suitable oysters, grind spherical nuclei from mollusk shells, cut a piece of living tissue measuring only a few millimeters, less than 1/8 of an inch, and perform the grafting operation by hand in under a minute. The oysters that survive are returned to the sea, where they are cleaned, inspected, and cared for through multiple seasons before harvest. Finally, each pearl is graded, drilled, matched, and crafted into a piece of luxury jewelry. Today, join Factron Process as we explore the extraordinary biological production line that transforms a marine animal's natural defense response into one of the world's most treasured gems. Before oil transformed the Gulf into a symbol of immense wealth, natural pearls were once the region's white gold, supporting tens of thousands of divers across the Persian Gulf. Each harvesting season could last up to 4 months, as hundreds of boats sailed out together in search of just a few pearls hidden among countless empty shells. In the early 20th century, Japan changed the industry forever by commercializing cultured pearls. Today, the market is worth billions of dollars, yet nature still holds the final authority. Only a tiny percentage of harvested pearls achieve the roundness, luster, and near-perfect surface required to enter the world of high jewelry. Before a pearl can glow beneath the lights of a luxury jewelry house, it must first pass a more fundamental test, finding a living host strong enough to nurture it for years. At the farm, growers keep only mature oysters with thick shells, tightly closing valves, and quick reactions to contact. Each selected oyster becomes a living biological factory, silently building thousands of layers of nacre around the nucleus. Thick, hard, light-colored freshwater mussel shells are chosen to make that nucleus, the central core around which nacre will accumulate for years. Even a hairline crack or a slight imperfection in roundness can leave the future pearl misshapen and far less valuable. Inside the factory, the raw shells are cut into small blocks, then repeatedly ground, rounded, and polished into smooth spherical beads. The screening process is extraordinarily unforgiving. From roughly 20,200 pounds of raw shell, sometimes only about 60 pounds of qualified nuclei are produced. The finished nuclei are then sorted by diameter to match different oyster species and sizes. It may look like nothing more than a tiny white marble, but the nucleus provides the framework that shapes the entire pearl. Yet, it cannot produce nacre on its own. The real secret lies in a piece of living tissue only about 1/10 of an inch wide. A perfectly round nucleus alone is not enough to make an oyster begin producing a pearl. The technician must also prepare a piece of mantle tissue only a few millimeters, roughly 1/10 of an inch, wide, taken from a healthy donor oyster with glossy nacre and stable coloration. The shell is opened only as far as necessary. A thin strip is then cut from the edge of the mantle and divided into pieces smaller than a grain of rice. Any tissue that is bruised, contaminated, or contains weakened cells is discarded because this tiny living fragment will determine the success of the entire cultivation cycle. Once implanted into the host oyster, the mantle cells begin developing into a pearl sac around the nucleus. From there, the sac continuously secretes microscopic layers of nacre for months, sometimes even years, gradually building the pearl's roundness, color, and distinctive luster. If the tissue fails to adapt or becomes damaged, the nucleus may be rejected, bringing the entire process to an end. A pearl worth thousands of dollars can therefore depend on a piece of living tissue that is almost invisible to the naked eye. Before reaching the grafting table, each pearl oyster must pass a rigorous screening process based on its shell closing response, the condition of its soft tissue, and its ability to recover. Only the healthiest specimens are selected, because even a minor mistake at this stage can erase years of careful cultivation. The technician gently secures the oyster, opens the shell only as far as necessary, and inserts a set of extremely fine instruments. For Akoya, South Sea, and Tahitian pearls, a spherical nucleus is placed inside the gonad, together with a small piece of mantle tissue taken from a donor oyster. That tiny tissue fragment will develop into a pearl sac, wrap around the nucleus, and begin secreting nacre. Many freshwater mussels, however, are grafted with mantle tissue alone, without a round bead nucleus, allowing a single animal to produce several pearls at the same time. The entire operation can be completed in under a minute. Yet an error of only a fraction of an inch, a torn tissue layer, or excessive pressure on the shell can kill the oyster, cause it to reject the nucleus, or produce a misshapen pearl. If you could choose only one factor that determines a pearl's value, would you choose the technician's skill or nature's uncertainty? Once the graft is complete, the oyster is moved to a recovery area before returning to the sea, where the silent process of pearl formation begins. After grafting, the pearl oysters are placed in cages, baskets, or mesh pockets and lowered into the farming waters. But before that can happen, the site itself must be carefully evaluated. In the laboratory, water samples and microalgae are examined under controlled lighting to assess the oyster's natural food supply. The water must be clean, the temperature stable, the salinity suitable, and the concentration of microalgae high enough to support healthy growth. For saltwater pearls, the cages are usually suspended at a depth where the water remains clean, stable, and rich in nutrients. Freshwater mussels, by contrast, may be raised in ponds, lakes, or other carefully managed bodies of water. Inside the animal, the nucleus is now treated as a foreign object. The implanted mantle tissue develops into a pearl sac, which begins secreting nacre around the core, one microscopic layer at a time. What makes a pearl beautiful is not rapid growth. Its beauty comes from nacre forming evenly, thinly, and consistently over a long period. Some pearls require only several months to a few years. South Sea and Tahitian pearls are commonly cultivated for 2 to 4 years, and certain cycles may continue even longer to build thicker nacre and produce a larger pearl. Pearl farming is not simply a matter of lowering oysters into the water and waiting for the day their shells are opened. It is a years-long cycle of care in which a disease outbreak, a powerful storm, or several weeks of unstable water conditions can erase the work of an entire farm. At regular intervals, cultivation cages are pulled back to the surface and opened for inspection. Seaweed, barnacles, mud, and countless marine organisms can quickly cover the shells. Workers scrape each shell, wash the cages, replace damaged mesh pockets, and separate any oysters that are dead or showing signs of disease. But maintenance goes far beyond cleaning. Farmers adjust the depth of the cages as the seasons change, while monitoring water temperature, salinity, dissolved oxygen, and the supply of natural microalgae. While hundreds of inspections take place outside, a silent construction process continues inside each living oyster. The pearl sac deposits one microscopic layer of nacre after another around the nucleus. Yet years of care still offer no guarantee. Some oysters die during cultivation. Others reject the nucleus, while many produce pearls that are misshapen, dull, or heavily blemished. So how can farmers know whether that rough shell is hiding a treasure, or nothing more than years of waiting? This is when they begin looking beneath the surface. After 2 to 5 years of cultivation, only about 10 to 15% of harvested pearls are considered fine enough for jewelry. That is why harvest day is the most anticipated moment of the entire process. Within seconds of opening the shell, years of care are revealed as either a valuable pearl or an ordinary commercial-grade product. In Zhejiang and Jiangsu, regions that supply most of the world's freshwater pearls, thousands of mussels may be brought ashore in a single day. By contrast, at premium farms in Japan's Ago Bay or around Broome, Australia, each pearl oyster is still opened by hand. Here, even a tiny scratch across the nacre can sharply reduce the pearl's value. The worker secures the shell, slowly separates its two halves, and opens only a narrow gap just wide enough for the instrument to enter. Guided by the pearl's previously identified position, the worker gently moves aside the soft tissue, reaches the pearl sac, and removes the pearl with movements so precise they are almost impossible to see. The pearl appears in only a few seconds. But behind that moment lies an entire cycle. If the oyster remains healthy, a new nucleus may be inserted into the existing pearl sac to begin a second or even a third cultivation cycle. With the South Sea pearl oyster, Pinctada maxima, later cycles can sometimes produce even larger pearls because both the oyster and its pearl sac have fully matured. Yet leaving the shell does not automatically make a pearl a treasure. Its true value is decided in the next stage, when every pearl is rigorously judged by size, shape, color, surface quality, and luster. Leaving the oyster does not automatically make a pearl a treasure. It must first survive a demanding selection process, where even a tiny dent or a slightly dull patch can completely change its value. Under controlled lighting, technicians place each pearl on the grading table, measure its diameter, and slowly rotate it to watch how light travels across the surface. Size, shape, color, luster, nacre thickness, and every visible imperfection are carefully examined. Each variety carries its own signature. Akoya pearls typically measure only about 0.08 to 0.39 inches, yet they are famous for their mirror-like luster. South Sea pearls are much larger, usually ranging from about 0.39 to 0.79 inches, with silver white or champagne gold tones. Tahitian pearls have naturally dark body colors, but under changing light, they may reveal flashes of green, purple, gray, or peacock blue. Freshwater pearls offer an even broader palette, ranging from white and pink to pale lavender and peach. The rule of value sounds simple. The rounder the pearl, the stronger its luster, the richer its color, and the cleaner its surface, the higher its price. But nature rarely produces perfection. Because every pearl forms inside a living organism, no two reflect light in exactly the same way. A large South Sea pearl with deep luster and an almost perfectly round shape can be worth thousands of dollars. Yet the real challenge is not finding one beautiful pearl, it is finding dozens that appear almost identical. To create a high-end necklace, craftsmen may spread thousands of pearls across a table, measuring, rotating, comparing, and matching them repeatedly. Their sizes must graduate smoothly, their colors must remain in harmony, and their luster must flow evenly from the first pearl to the last. At houses such as Mikimoto, this matching process can take many hours, because a strand reaches its highest value only when every pearl appears as though it were created at the same moment. The pearls that survive the final selection are sent to jewelry workshops, where years of cultivation are condensed into objects small enough to fit in the palm of a hand. Under standardized white light, each pearl is placed on a rotating surface while the jeweler studies how light moves across its nacre. The finest face, the deepest reflection, and the location of every minor imperfection must be identified. A rotation of only a few degrees can hide the pearl's most luminous area or bring an almost invisible blemish directly into view. For rings, earrings, and pendants, the pearl is carefully marked, drilled with an ultrafine bit, and mounted onto a setting made of gold, platinum, or another precious metal. A slender post is inserted into the core and secured with specialized adhesive. The finished piece is then examined under magnification to verify symmetry, the strength of the mounting, and the harmony between the metal and the pearl's luster. An uneven reflection, a slight misalignment, or a color that fails to match the design can be enough to remove the piece from the luxury category. What makes a pearl truly exceptional is that its beauty cannot simply be manufactured inside the workshop. The jeweler can only reveal what the oyster has already created, one microscopic layer of nacre at a time, over many years. But not every pearl is flawless enough to enter the world of high jewelry. So what happens to the ones that do not make the cut? Not every pearl that emerges from its shell is flawless enough to enter a jewelry display. Many are misshapen, cracked, dull, or covered with small surface irregularities. Pearls that fail to meet jewelry standards are collected, cleaned, and fed into grinding systems. Through several stages of processing, they are gradually broken down into a powder almost as fine as dust. The material is then screened to remove coarse particles before being supplied to cosmetics, skincare products, and other commercial applications. Imperfect pearls still retain value because they are composed primarily of calcium carbonate, along with small amounts of proteins and amino acids. Even the shells can be repurposed for handicrafts, decorative materials, or industrial products. From a single mollusk raised beneath the water, almost every part can enter a different production chain. This extended life cycle reveals that the pearl industry is not only about luxury. It can also transform imperfect products into new raw materials, allowing their value to continue long after they have been removed from the shell. And with that, we have followed the complete journey of a pearl, from shaping the nucleus and preparing the mantle tissue to grafting it into the oyster, then wading through years of cultivation before harvesting, grading, and transforming it into fine jewelry. Behind its luxurious appearance and extraordinary value lies a rare combination of human precision, patience measured in thousands of days, and the remarkable ability of a living creature beneath the water to build beauty one microscopic layer at a time. If you found this journey fascinating, remember to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you can continue exploring the hidden processes behind the world's most remarkable industries with us.